What's up, everybody? Welcome to the rLounge. Am I the a-hole for not apologizing to my mother-in-law after throwing up her food? Not the a-hole. Hi, please help me out because I'm feeling extremely guilty even though at the time I thought I was in the right. So I, female 27, am married to my husband, male 34, from the past 2 years. My relationship with my mother-in-law has been okay, but we are not extremely close as we have different opinions on some matters. Like, last year during a controversial law implementation in Texas, we were having a discussion at family event, and she told me how if I ever thought about giving up on a baby, she will make my husband divorce me. But she laughed after saying that and said she was kidding. She had made similar kinds of jokes regarding me having a girl child first as well. Well, fast forward to last night. She had come for a visit and brought food with her. She had made my husband's favorite dish and one other dish. She said she had brought the favorite dish only for my husband and the other dish was for me. Well, we started eating and I tasted something bitter in my food. It wasn't that much, so I just kept on swallowing it with water because I was afraid if I complained, my mother-in-law would get angry. As I dug deeper with my fork deeper into the food, I saw something like black powder. It looked like the food was stuffed with it. I inquired about the same, so she told me it was a new spice she got from a friend. I took a mouthful of that stuff and couldn't swallow it at all. I rushed to the bathroom and threw it all up. I got violently sick and my whole mouth became bitter. When I came out, my husband gave me some water. Suddenly, my mother-in-law got very angry at me and said I was intentionally doing this whole act of throwing up to show she is a bad cook. My husband tried to calm her down, but she left our home and took the food she brought with her, while leaving saying we don't deserve it. She even emptied the plate I was eating from into a container and took it as well. While my husband is on my side, others from his family have been very angry at us as well and asking me to apologize. Am I the a-hole here? Edit. As some of the comments are curious, I will ask the name of the spice. I will call my sister-in-law tomorrow. Although I don't think she was trying to intentionally poison me, I am now really scared after reading the comments that said that's what she did. I'll update you guys soon. Update. So my sister-in-law just called me who got the whole story out of father-in-law. My mother-in-law got the spice from her friend like she said. It was called Kalmji? Kalmji? Something like that. I'll Google it later, but just wanted to update you all first. She was cooking that dish for their lunch and didn't know how much she was supposed to add and accidentally put too much. She tasted it and couldn't eat it. Instead of acting like a sane person and throwing it out, she thought that as she was going to visit us anyways, so why not give it to me instead? Her reason was that as I am a horrible cook, so I already have a habit of eating bad food. She intentionally made a small portion of my husband's food so I will not take it. I am so angry at her right now and have told my husband she is not allowed in our house anymore. He still thinks he would like to discuss it with her. I'm just done with her BS. Thank you for all your concern, and while I am glad she was not poisoning me, I am still shocked by her insensitivity. Update 2. I went to the doctor first thing in the morning and I am completely fine. My husband wants to go low contact, but says he can't go no contact fully, and I understand. Some of you asked if we were trying to get pregnant. I honestly am not in the phase where I want kids, but maybe in the future. Our first response comes from SimplySam4210. So, let's break this down. Your mother-in-law had a special dish just for you. It tasted weird, then you got violently ill. Then she took all remaining evidence home with her? OP, she literally tried to kill you. Not the a-hole, but watch your back. Our next opinion comes from Impressive Airy 609. Yeah. I wouldn't trust anything that this woman puts in front of you. Ask your hubby to try your meal to see if he can identify the spice, and see how she reacts. Really sounds suspicious that she took all the portions with her. Not the a-hole, and watch your back. Good luck. Our next thought comes from 9 Squad Plus. She legit was trying to poison you. Who takes uneaten food off someone else's plate after they have gotten sick into a to-go container? Alright, one more opinion before we move on. Kerbin says, not the a-hole. Hardly thinks she should have gone to the hospital and gotten tested for whatever she tried to poison you with. I mean, this seriously sounds legitimate, and that she tried to cover it up. On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for moving out when my roommate charged me extra rent? Hi everyone. I'm on mobile, so don't shoot me for formatting. For context, I, 22 female, and Jay, 32 female, moved into a house together about 2 years ago. Her name is on the lease, and she is technically renting me and her brother and his friend, both 36 male rooms in this house. The two guys downstairs are only there for 4 days a month due to their jobs, and she charges them half as much as me for rent. They also use the full-size garage in the back to store things. For the last 2 years, Jay and I have lived together semi-peacefully. She's quite messy, and due to my mental health, messes causing worse anxiety and depression, I tend to clean up a lot after her. She also has 2 dogs and a cat. She asks me to feed and let out her dogs on a regular basis. Her dogs will sometimes get into the garbage, or her cat will pee and poop downstairs because she hates the boys. And Jay expects the first person to see the mess to clean it up, even though it is from her animals. I also have a small room that barely fits my bed, while Jay has a bedroom and a spare room to herself. The boys have a whole basement and the garage to themselves. Now to the issue that broke the last straw for me. Jay gets our hydro and electricity bill every 2 months, and for the last billing period, she got a huge bill. It is winter, and we do live in northern Canada, so it can get quite cold. I was also gone for 3 of the 8 weeks that this bill was covering. Jay has been complaining about how expensive utilities are and how outrageous this is for her to pay all of this. I pay her rent for March a few days early, so she has time to transfer rent to the actual owner of the house. I sent her an extra $100 because I felt bad about the utilities, and after she received it, texted me and asked for an extra $150. So $250 on top of my normal rent. Jay, however, only pays $100 in rent and then covers the utilities. That was our verbal agreement 2 years ago. But now all of a sudden, the utilities should be my responsibility too. She's making me feel like a freeloader that costs her so much money. My friend just bought a house and offered to let me move in. So last night, I gave Jay my notice and told her I would be out of the end of March. I'm actually moving out next week because I cannot stand to be here any longer. I feel like I'm unwanted in my own space now. Now, Jay is upset with me because I'm putting more of a financial burden on her, but my friend offered me cheaper rent and won't charge me for utilities out of the blue. My friend is also much cleaner and has been a huge emotional support as I've been living with Jay and trying to keep the house functional. So, am I the a-hole for moving out and putting financial stress on Jay? Our first response comes from Scooby-Doo-Doob. Not the a-hole. Get out of there now. It seems like she is taking advantage of you. You just got a better offer. Not your responsibility to make her life easier at your own expense. Next thought from Tutcraft No, you are absolutely not the a-hole, and by the sounds of it, Jay has been financially abusing you for her own gain the whole time you've been living together. Charging you higher rent for a smaller space, allowing her brother and his friend lower rent because they're not always there, even though they occupy a much larger space than you do, and I assume no one else is in their rooms while they're away, making it prudent for them to pay for the rooms full time. And on top of that, she's expecting you to clean up after both her and her pets. Now she's angry with you for moving out, and of course she is, because why wouldn't she be? She's losing the person who is actually paying her for cleaning her crap and getting her extra cash. Now she'll have to pay for her own things, and she doesn't want to. You're not her slave. You're allowed to move out if you want to, and she has no business berating you for taking care of yourself instead of gilding her pockets. Our next reaction comes from Nat man. Not the a-hole. Get out of there and don't look back. At 20, I roomed with several people in their later 20s and 30s who took advantage of me financially. I promise you that future you will thank yourself for seeing the red flags and doing what's right for you. On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that if she was a roommate, I would have moved out by now? My wife, 24 female, Mary, and I, 23 female, have been together for 3 years, living together for 2.5, married for 1.5. I'm the oldest of 5 in my family, and my mom was a single mom, so I was expected to help out a lot, cooking, cleaning, caring, etc. Mary's mom is a stay-at-home mom who did all the chores, and Mary said she was never taught how. I asked her mom about it once, and her mom said that Mary used to pretend to not know how to do things to get out of doing them. Mary said it's just something she did as a kid, but she doesn't do it anymore. When we first moved in together, I was happy to fill the role of the caregiver, stocking groceries, doing dishes, laundry, etc. After COVID started, I realized how much energy it takes to maintain a clean apartment with 2 adults being home 24/7. So I asked Mary for help with maintaining housework. She was super understanding and agreed that it is her responsibility too, but she would only clean if I asked her to. I was patient and asked her for help when I needed it, and eventually she caught on. I have noticed that her helping isn't very helpful. For example, I mentioned that it would be nice to get some help with the laundry, so she said she would do some. She said it was an emergency load of underwear and asked if I needed anything else washed. I said, Some leggings and sweatshirts would be nice, thanks. The next day, I folded the load of laundry and saw she washed 10 pairs of her underwear, a bunch of her sweatshirts and leggings, 1 pair of my leggings, and 3 pairs of my underwear. Example 2. She cleaned out the litter box, but didn't fill it back up afterward. I heard her comment, "Oh, I need to fill up the litter box," and I acknowledged, but the next day, it was still empty. I got pissed at her and told her that it was unfair to the cats and she should have filled it up when she noticed it was empty. She said that she forgot to. Example 3. When it was her turn to wash the dishes, she washed all of them except for the cat dishes. They are admittedly gross because crusty, dried, wet food. I confronted her about leaving them so I would have to do them, and she said that I misunderstood her intentions. She was just doing the dishes that she had the energy for, and putting out one of the fires. To me, we have a list of chores to do, and we can't consider them done until the whole thing is done. I told her that she can't half-ass the jobs in the house because it's making more work for me in the long run to clean up her messes. I told her that if she was a roommate, I would have moved out by now, and if I were her manager at a job, I would have fired her for making more work for me. She started crying and told me to leave her alone. I feel like a total a-hole for saying those things. I feel like maybe I was being too hard on her, that maybe the chores are a lot for her to handle. But on the other hand, we've been living together for a long time, and she is old enough to know how to clean up after herself. Our first reaction comes from Sleepy Felines. Not the a-hole. She's deliberately acting incompetent so that you'll do the work instead. She's hoping if she does it badly enough, she won't have to do it at all. It's weaponized incompetence. Our next thought comes from Lucid126. Mary is a master manipulator. Look how quickly she turned the tables on OP. Few crocodile tears here and she's the bad one. Next up, Missy B63. Not the a-hole. Mary is displaying weaponized incompetence at a master level. Mary is the a-hole here. You are married. It's a partnership. She should willingly do these tasks. God forbid you ever have a child with this woman. Will she forget to wash the child's clothes or forget to change a diaper? She should shape up or ship out. Our last reaction to this story from Thimble Abyss. Not the a-hole. I know there are going to be more people claiming ADHD as an excuse here beyond what I've already seen. But as someone who actually has ADHD, I'm telling you straight out, that's likely a BS excuse. Does she have the energy to do things she wants to do? I assure you executive dysfunction doesn't discriminate between desirable and undesirable activities. Your statement to her was simple honesty. If she were a roommate, you would make other living arrangements and no one would blame you in the least. Why should you have to suffer through it in your marriage? On to the next adventure. Am I the a-hole for wanting to kick my mother-in-law out? My mother-in-law made a deal with us to live in our basement for a year. June is the year mark. But she is horrible for my mental health. She constantly lies and tells people she does everything around the house, including staying upstairs and taking care of my kids, which she doesn't. She tells me I'm a bad mom and does nothing but criticize me, making me feel horrible daily. Now, she is trying to say my cats are peeing on everything and scratching up the carpet. They only scratch at the carpet when they get locked in a room, and telling me I have to get rid of them. She has also been telling other people that she is selling her home in California and moving in with us indefinitely, and has not discussed this with us. I overheard a loud phone convo taking place in my living room. I refuse to let her stay here and honestly want her out now. She turns everything so she is the victim, and I just keep my mouth shut because she threatens me with CPS, which I know won't take my kids, mandatory reporter in my home weekly. But I don't want them to deal with the trauma of all this stuff. She is manipulative and narcissistic. My husband says I'm being an a-hole to his mom by wanting her gone. So am I the a-hole? Our first reaction comes from Hammock on the Porch. Not the a-hole. Your husband is the bigger problem because he can't see that. The OP responds, he sees it, he just takes her side. He is her only child and she raised him alone since he was 2. He's just stuck up her behind. Our next thought's coming from an actual zebra 5284. Not the a-hole. She threatened to try and have your kids taken away. Even without the rest of her crappy behavior, this deserves instant eviction. And maybe she should take her spineless son with her. And our last reaction from Putrid Object 806. Not the a-hole. This is so many red flags it isn't even funny. Kick her out and stand your ground. If your husband is siding with her and believes everything she says to be true, then my best suggestion is to just run.